And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Soccer! Yay, soccer. Football for most of the world, but for us Americans we call it soccer, what have you. Most Americans don't watch the sport anyway. But having lived overseas, I know it's a fantastic sport. I like watching it. Great times. And so I was very excited when I saw Nestor came out with a game called 11, which is basically a football match. Putting it down. Now, I've found that soccer games, football games, what have you, are very difficult to simulate on a board game because it's such a quick moving game and it's hard to do that sort of thing on a board game. Let's usually leave it to the video games. Well, guess what? Another failure. I like Nestorgames, but this one just did not come across very well. Let's look at it and I'll show you the problems with it. The game's very simple. A ball is placed in the middle. It's a little white disc which has somehow mysteriously disappeared. So we'll use this little yellow cube. Doesn't matter. Each player is going to, on your turn, you roll a die. And that shows how many movement points you have. Now when you move, let's take a closer look. Let's say, for example, number 8, when he moves here. He can move here, 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 here. He can't move into his own guy down there where number 2 is. So you can move around the board in these kind of funky little lines as you move back and forth. Now you are actually allowed to move into a spot where your opponent is. You can move in there, but then you have to pay one more movement point to move him out. So it costs 2 basically to move into a spot where the opponent is. You can grab the ball if you move into that spot. And then instead of moving, you are allowed to pass it to somebody else on your team. And you pass around the ball if you want. If your opponent has the ball and you move into their spot, you can steal the ball from them for an extra movement point. If you manage to be within 2 spaces of the goalie and you shoot into the goal, if the goalie's not there, it's an automatic point for your team. If the goalie is there, you will then take the die and you will pick a number. The goalie will then try to guess the number. He'll say low, medium, or high. Low is 1 and 2, medium is 3 and 4, high is 5 and 6. If he says the number, if he says high, for example, and you roll a 6, or you pick the 6, he blocks it. Otherwise, and if you pick the 5, he blocks it. But a 1 through 4, he makes it. So when you shoot a goal, you have a 2/3 chance of making it. If a goal is scored, we start over again. Now, when you shoot the ball, it doesn't actually take one of your actions, but for the rest of it, it really does come down to the die. And you can see right now, one of my problems with this game would be frustrating for one person who rolls low several times in a row and the other person rolls high. They're going to score a goal. Other than that, that's basically the game. The game takes place over a certain amount of time, like 20 minutes, and then after 20 minutes are up, as soon as someone rolls a 1, the game's over. So there's some uncertainty as when the game runs. Whoever has the most points, there's a way to do penalty shootouts, but that's the game. Man, that die roll just kills the game for me right then and there. The vagaries of soccer, no, I'm sorry. But if I roll 1, a 2, a 3, a 2, and you just roll a 5, a 6, a 4, and a 5, and you'll say, well, look, Vasel, you know, die rolls balance out over the course of the game. Yes, they do, and that's fine. I understand that, but in this game, if you score 3 points because of die rolls, then what strategy is there in the game at all? There isn't any. You just went by me. All those curved lines all over the board, that all looks neat until you realize that it just matters who rolls better over the course of a game. The person who rolls better is going to be the winner. Doesn't matter how strategically you set up your people. The board is not that laid out. There's no special abilities. There's no fast, players. It's a functionally identical game, a symmetrical game in which the players all have the same abilities. It just comes down to that die roll. And for me, sorry.
Thanks for joining us today. For more written, audio, and video reviews, as well as the #1 board game podcast, check out the website at www.thedicetower.com. Until then, this is Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.